My father broke my wrist at a family dinner, then called me a liar. My phone buzzed during the AP biology quiz. Then again, and again. I kept my eyes on the test paper, but my stomach dropped. Emma never texted me during school unless something was wrong. The vibrations wouldn't stop. I counted 8 in 3 minutes. Mr. Peterson was at his desk grading papers. I slid my phone onto my lap under the desk and glanced down. Emma text. He's home. He's breaking my door. Rachel, please. I'm scared. He said he's going to teach me a lesson. My hands went cold. I raised my hand. Mr. Peterson, I need to use the bathroom. He looked up. You have 15 minutes left on the quiz. It's an emergency. Something in my voice made him pause. He nodded. I grabbed my phone and ran into the hallway. My fingers shook as I called Emma. She picked up on the first ring, her voice barely a whisper. He just left. Are you okay? Are you hurt? My door handle is broken. There's stuff everywhere. Why? Her breathing sounded wrong, too fast. I was on my phone instead of doing the dishes, and he kicked the door until it broke open, and I'm coming home right now. You have 2 more periods. I don't care. I hung up and walked straight past the office, out the front doors. I'd deal with the absence later. The bus ride home took 23 minutes. I counted every single one. I opened my notes app and scrolled through the entries I'd started keeping 2 months ago. I'd told myself I was overreacting, that documenting everything was paranoid. But looking at the list now, I couldn't pretend anymore. March 15th. Dad grabbed my ear after dinner, twisted it hard, left red mark for 2 days. April 3rd, came home 15 minutes late from cafe shift. Dad squeezed my wrist against the counter. Mom said I shouldn't have been late. April 28th. Dad threw TV remote at Emma's head because she changed the channel. Missed by inches. Hit wall, left dent. May 12th. Emma showed me cuts on her arm. First time. She made me promise not to tell. All of it happened between 3 and 11 at night, when Mom was at the hospital working her second shift. I kept scrolling. The entries got closer together. Once a month became, once a week became almost every other day. 9 times in 6 months I'd had bruises bad enough to write down. 3 times I'd gone to the school nurse making up excuses about gym class accidents. The pattern was obvious now. It was getting worse, and it was getting faster. I ran from the bus stop to our house. The front door was unlocked. Emma's room was at the top of the stairs. I took them 2 at a time. The door was half open, hanging crooked on one hinge. The handle was completely broken, the lock mechanism dangling from the door frame. Emma sat on her bed with her knees pulled to her chest. Her whole body was shaking. I wrapped my arms around her. Let me see. Did he hurt you? No. I locked the door and he just kept kicking it. I heard the wood cracking and I thought he was going to... She couldn't finish the sentence. I checked her arms, her face, her neck. No new bruises. But her hands wouldn't stop trembling. The room looked like a tornado had hit it. Clothes were scattered across the floor. Her desk lamp was on its side. A picture frame lay face down with glass shards around it. Books were everywhere. He came home early, Emma whispered. I was on my phone instead of doing dishes. He said I'm disrespectful, started yelling. I ran up here and locked my door and he kept kicking until it broke. I heard footsteps on the stairs. We both froze. Dad appeared in the doorway. His face was calm, too calm, like nothing had happened at all. Clean this mess up, he said. His voice was flat, normal. And next time, do your chores when I tell you. He walked back downstairs like he just reminded her to take out the trash. A few seconds later, I heard the TV turn on in the living room. Emma started crying again, silent tears running down her face. I pulled her closer and whispered, "We can't keep living like this." That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Emma had finally fallen asleep around midnight, exhausted from crying. I could hear her breathing through the wall between our rooms. I couldn't stop adding everything up in my head. My GPA sophomore year was 3.8. I'd been on track for the State University Academic Scholarship. You needed a 3.5 minimum to qualify. Last semester, I ended with a 2.9. I'd missed assignment deadlines because I couldn't focus. I'd bombed 2 tests because I'd been up all night listening to make sure Emma was safe. The scholarship was gone now, out of reach. Emma had started cutting 2 months ago. Her grades dropped from B's to D's. She stopped hanging out with her friends. She barely talked anymore unless she was with me. And me? I had nightmares every single night. I jumped at loud noises. I'd called out sick from my cafe job twice in the past month because I was too exhausted to function. This wasn't stress. This was survival. I picked up my phone and typed into the search bar, "Domestic violence hotline near me." The number appeared immediately. I saved it to my contacts. My finger hovered over the call button. What if they contacted CPS and it made everything worse? What if they investigated and didn't find enough evidence and then Dad knew I'd reported him? What if they took Emma away from me and put her in foster care? What if Mom lost the house because of the legal mess? I put the phone down. Through the wall, I heard Emma crying again. Soft, muffled sounds like she was trying not to wake anyone. Her door was still broken. The handle was still on the floor where it had fallen. I picked up my phone again. This time, I pressed call. It rang twice before someone answered. "National Domestic Violence Hotline, this is Sarah. You're safe to talk to me." My voice came out as a whisper. "I need help. But I can't let anyone in my family know I called." The hotline counselor talked to me for 40 minutes that night, but I still felt lost when I hung up. The next day at lunch, I stood outside Ms. Okonkwo's office for a full 3 minutes before I knocked. She looked up from her desk and smiled, but it faded when she saw my face. "Rachel, come in." I sat down in the chair across from her. The office was small and warm, with posters about college applications and mental health resources on the walls. Ms. Okonkwo was in her early 30s, a black woman with natural hair pulled back in a bun and kind eyes that saw too much. She leaned forward, hands folded on her desk. "You've been here 3 times this semester for academic stress," she said gently. What's really going on? I opened my mouth, closed it, tried again. My dad has a temper, I said finally. Sometimes he yells. Yesterday he broke Emma's door, Miss Dawn. Okonkwo's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. Broke it how? Kicked it until the lock broke. I was picking at my thumbnail, couldn't look at her. Emma locked herself in, and he just kept kicking. Why did Emma lock herself in? She didn't do the dishes fast enough. He was mad. Silence. I could feel her watching me. Rachel, she said quietly, has he ever hurt you physically? My throat tightened. Just grabbed my arm a few times, not a big deal. Where did he grab you? My wrist, and my ear once. It's fine. He doesn't hit us or anything. Miss Okonkwo leaned back in her chair. When she spoke again, her voice was softer but somehow more intense. I lost my cousin to domestic violence when she was 16. Her mom said it wasn't a big deal either, until it was too late. The words hit me like cold water. Your father broke a door because your sister didn't do dishes fast enough, she continued. He grabbed you hard enough that you remember it months later. That's not normal anger, Rachel. That's abuse. It's not that bad, I said quickly. Other kids have it worse. He's just stressed because he lost his job and... Has he left bruises? I didn't answer. Rachel, has he left bruises? Sometimes. But they fade. And it's not like he uses his fists or anything. He just grabs too hard. Ms. Okonkwo pulled out a pamphlet from her desk drawer. There are resources. Child Protective Services can investigate. There are protective orders that can keep him away from you and Emma. You have rights. Panic flooded through me. I can't call CPS. They'll take Emma away from me. They'll put us in different foster homes. My mom will lose her job from the stress. We'll lose the house. And if they investigate and don't find enough proof, he'll know I reported him and it'll get so much worse. That's not always how it works. It's not that bad, I repeated. My hands were shaking. I can handle it. I just need to graduate and then I can take Emma with me to college or something. I just need to make it one more year. Ms. Okonkwo looked at me for a long moment, then she slid the pamphlet across the desk. I can't force you to report, she said, but I need you to know this usually gets worse, not better. And you have options. You're not trapped, even though it feels that way. I took the pamphlet and shoved it deep into my backpack. Thank you. I should get to class. My door is always open, she said as I stood up. Anytime, even if you just need to talk. I nodded and left before she could see me cry. 2 nights later, Mom left for her second shift at the hospital at 6:45. Dad was on the couch watching some crime show, his third beer of the evening on the coffee table. Emma was at the kitchen sink washing dishes. I was at the dining table doing calculus homework, but I couldn't focus. I kept watching the clock. Mom wouldn't be home until 11:30, 4.5 hours. Emma, you're doing it wrong, Dad called from the living room. I told you. Rinse first, then soap. Emma's shoulders tensed. But this is how Mom does it. I heard the couch creak. Footsteps. Dad appeared in the kitchen doorway. Did I ask how your mother does it? No, but... So why are you arguing with me? His voice was getting that edge, the one that meant things were about to escalate. Emma's hands were shaking in the dishwater. She wasn't looking at him. Dad took a step toward the sink. I stood up. Dad, can you just let her finish? My voice came out steadier than I expected. She's doing fine. He turned to look at me. Excuse me? My heart was pounding, but I made myself keep eye contact. I'm just saying, Emma's doing her chores. You don't need to yell at her for every little thing. The silence that followed felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. Dad's jaw tightened. Emma had gone completely still, her hands frozen in the sink. Go to your room, he said. His voice was quiet, cold. Both of you. Dad, I just think... I said go. Now. Emma pulled her hands out of the dishwater and dried them on her jeans. She wouldn't look at me as she walked past. I followed her up the stairs. My legs felt weak. My hands were shaking again. But as I reached the top step, something shifted in my chest. He'd backed down. Emma and I weren't hurt. We were both safe in our rooms. I'd stood up to him and nothing bad had happened. Maybe confrontation was the answer. Maybe if I pushed back, he'd realize he couldn't keep treating us this way. I went to bed that night feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. The hope lasted 3 days. Dad didn't yell at dinner. He ate in silence, watched TV, and went to bed without criticizing anyone. Emma and I moved through the house like ghosts. We did the dishes the second dinner ended. We kept our voices down. We stayed in our rooms when he was downstairs. On the third night, Emma slipped into my room after Mom left for work. Do you think it's over? She whispered. Like maybe he'll stop now? I wanted to believe it. God, I wanted to believe it so badly. Maybe, I said. Let's just be careful. Don't give him reasons to get mad. We kept doing everything perfectly. Chores done right on time. No talking back. No loud noises. Walking on eggshells every single second. But at least no one was getting hurt. Thursday night, Mom came home from her shift and found me in the kitchen making my lunch for the next day. Dad said you disrespected him a few days ago, she said. Her voice was tired. What happened? I turned around. He was yelling at Emma about dishes. I asked him to stop. And he told us to go to our rooms. That's it. Nothing happened. Mom rubbed her eyes. She looked exhausted. She always looked exhausted. Rachel, your dad is under a lot of stress. He's been looking for work for over a year. Just don't provoke him, okay? The words stuck in my throat. I wanted to scream that he was the one provoking us, that we were terrified in our own house, that this wasn't normal, but I could see it in her face. She didn't want to hear it. Okay, I said. She patted my shoulder and went upstairs. Friday afternoon, I was wiping down tables at the cafe when my phone rang. Mom. She never called during my shifts. Did you talk to your school counselor about our family? My whole body went cold. Why? Your dad ran into Mrs. Park at the grocery store. She mentioned Ms. Okonkwo asked about you during a parent meeting. Said you've been having difficult home situations. Shit, 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 shit. I just needed someone to talk to about stress, I said quickly. School stress, college applications and stuff. What did you tell her? Nothing. Just that things are tense at home sometimes. Mom's voice got hard. Rachel, we don't air our dirty laundry to strangers. Your father is already upset. We'll talk when you get home. She hung up. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the rag. My shift ended at 8:30. I took the bus home, my stomach twisting tighter with every stop. I walked through the front door at 9. Dad was sitting at the kitchen table, waiting. He didn't say anything, just looked at me with this cold, flat expression. Dad, You told people at school that I abuse you. No, I didn't say that. He stood up. You're trying to destroy this family. Make me look like a monster. I took a step back. That's not what I'm doing. Then what are you doing, Rachel? Talking to counselors about me? About our private family business? I heard footsteps on the stairs. Emma appeared, her face pale. I'm not trying to destroy anything, I said. My voice shook, but I kept it steady. I'm just stressed about school and needed someone to talk to. About me. About everything, grades and college, and don't lie to me. He stepped closer. You want something to be stressed about? His hand shot out and grabbed my wrist, the same one he'd grabbed before. He squeezed. Pain exploded up my arm. Dad, you're hurting me. He squeezed harder. His fingers dug into the exact same spot, right over the old bruise that had just started to fade. This is nothing. His voice was calm, too calm. You don't know what real pain is. My father would have beaten me bloody for talking back, for running my mouth to strangers about family business. Tears spilled down my face. I couldn't help it. Please stop. Leave her alone. Emma ran down the stairs. Just leave her alone. Dad let go of my wrist. I stumbled backward, cradling my arm against my chest. He turned to Emma. Get out of here before you're next. Emma's face went white. She ran back upstairs. Dad looked at me again. That flat, cold expression hadn't changed. Next time you talk to anyone outside this family about me, I'll give you something real to complain about. Understand? I nodded. I couldn't speak. He walked into the living room. The TV turned on. Some football game. Volume way too loud, like nothing had happened. I ran upstairs and locked my bedroom door with shaking hands. My wrist was already swelling. Dark purple marks were forming where his fingers had been. The shape was so clear you could count each one. Emma knocked softly. I let her in. We sat on my bed. She was crying. I'm sorry, she sobbed. This is my fault. If I had just done the dishes right that night, if I hadn't... No. I pulled her close. This is not your fault. This is never your fault. But in my head, all I could think was, I made it worse. I shouldn't have confronted him. I shouldn't have talked to Miss Okonkwo. What was I thinking? That standing up to him would make him back down permanently? That he'd realize he was wrong? I looked at my wrist. I couldn't wear short sleeves tomorrow. Long sleeves in May. People would ask questions. I picked up my phone and took a picture. I don't know why. Instinct, maybe. The timestamp showed in the corner. 9:17 p.m., May 16th. Emma wiped her eyes. What do we do now? I stared at the photo on my screen, at the clear imprint of his fingers. Direct confrontation doesn't work, I whispered. He just gets angrier. We need a different plan, one he doesn't know about. Monday morning, I went straight to Miss Okonkwo's office before first period. She took one look at my face and closed the door behind me. What happened? I didn't minimize this time. I told her everything. The confrontation, his reaction, the phone call from Mom. Then I pulled up my sleeve. The bruise had darkened overnight. Purple and blue and yellow, spreading from my wrist halfway up my forearm. The fingerprints were unmistakable. Ms. Okonkwo's jaw tightened. How long has this been happening? 6 months of grabbing, pushing, throwing things, but it's getting worse. The words came out in a rush. Emma's cutting herself. My GPA dropped from 3.8 to 2.9. I live in constant fear from 3 to 11 every night when Mom's at work, and now he knows I talk to you, so he's watching me even more closely. She sat down across from me. I have to ask you this directly. Do you feel safe going home today? I paused, thought about it. Yes, I said finally. He won't do anything serious while Mom's watching. It's the nights she works that are bad. Ms. Okonkwo nodded slowly. Okay, here's what we're going to do. But you have to trust me. She pulled out a notebook and started writing. We need to document everything systematically. Every incident gets written down with the date, time, and any witnesses. You take photos immediately after any physical contact. Make sure the timestamp is visible. Keep copies of any medical records from every time you've been to the nurse's office or urgent care. What about recordings? I asked. Is that legal? In this state, yes. One-party consent. If you're part of the conversation, you can record it. She looked up at me. But be careful. Very careful. If he finds out what you're doing, I know. I'm not going to call CPS yet, she said, because without solid evidence, they might investigate and find insufficient proof. Then your father would know you reported him, and you'd be in more danger with no protection. My stomach dropped. So what do I do? Build an undeniable case. Then when CPS gets involved, they can't ignore it. She wrote down a phone number. I'm also going to help you find a lawyer who can get an emergency protective order when the time comes. But first, we need evidence that's impossible to dismiss. That conversation with Miss Okonkwo changed everything. I started documenting systematically. I bought a small notebook from the dollar store and kept it hidden in the bottom of my school bag under my textbooks. Every incident got written down the second I was alone. Week 1, May 15th, 8:47 p.m. Dad grabbed Emma's arm when she dropped a glass while putting away dishes. Squeezed hard enough to leave red marks shaped like fingers, lasted maybe 10 seconds. Mom not home. Emma cried after he let go, but didn't make noise until he left the room. May 18th, 9:15 p.m. I asked Dad if I could borrow the car to get to my shift early. He threw his shoe at my head. I ducked. It missed me by maybe 3 inches and hit the wall behind me, left a black scuff mark that's still there. Mom not home. I changed my phone settings so every photo automatically backed up to the cloud. Then I went through my camera roll and found the picture I'd taken of my wrist. The metadata showed the exact date and time. May 16th, 9:17 p.m. The bruise had faded to yellow-green by now, but you could still see it. I took another photo to show the progression. Week 2. Emma went to the nurse's office Tuesday morning. She'd pulled up her sleeve in homeroom, and another girl saw the bruise on her upper arm. The teacher sent her down. The school nurse documented it. Bruise on left upper arm, approximately 2 inches by 3 inches, dark purple with yellowish edges, consistent with grip marks. When Emma came home, I asked her for a copy of the nurse's notes. Why, she said, just trust me. The nurse hesitated when Emma went back the next day and asked. But Emma said it was for our records, and the nurse printed out a copy. Friday night was the worst incident yet. Mom left for her shift at 6:45. Dad had been drinking since 4. Emma was supposed to be in bed by 9:30 on school nights. At 9:40, she was still in the bathroom brushing her teeth. Dad went upstairs. I heard his voice get loud. I grabbed my phone, opened the voice recorder app, and slipped it into my hoodie pocket. Then I went upstairs. Emma was backed against the bathroom sink. Dad had his hand around her throat, not choking her, but holding her there. When I say 9:30, I mean 9:30, he said. His voice was quiet, controlled. Are you stupid? Can you not tell time? I'm sorry, Emma whispered. I was just... He squeezed. Not hard. Just enough. Don't talk back. Dad, I said from the doorway. Let her go. He looked at me, dropped his hand. Both of you. Bed, now. The recording was 8 minutes and 12 seconds long. You could hear everything. His voice, Emma crying, the sound of something hitting the floor when Emma knocked over the cup holder trying to get away from him. After he went back downstairs, I checked Emma's neck. Finger-shaped bruises, 4 on one side, thumb mark on the other. I took 12 photos from different angles. I put a ruler next to the bruises to show the size. The marks were each about 1/2 inch wide. Week 3. I picked up extra shifts at the cafe, told my manager I was saving for college, which was true. But I was also building an emergency fund, money for bus tickets if we needed to leave suddenly, money for food if we couldn't go home. I had $247 saved. During my break one afternoon, I called the Legal Aid Society. The hotline connected me to a lawyer named Jessica. She sounded young, maybe mid-20s. I explained the situation. Everything. 6 months of escalation. The evidence I'd been collecting, the fact that my mom didn't believe us. Keep collecting evidence, Jessica said. Specifically, we need medical documentation, photos with timestamps, recordings if possible, and witnesses outside the family. What about my mom? I asked. She doesn't believe us. She thinks we're exaggerating. That's common. Abusers are very good at manipulation, but she's also technically a mandatory reporter if she witnesses abuse and does nothing. Though that's hard to prove in court. Jessica gave me her direct email, told me to send updates, told me that when we had enough evidence, she'd file for an emergency protective order. That night, I messaged Aunt Linda on Facebook. Mom's sister. We hadn't seen her in months because Dad didn't like her. Can Emma and I stay with you if we ever need to leave suddenly? She responded in under 5 minutes. Of course. Anytime. What's going on? I'll explain later. Just needed to know we have somewhere safe. Knowing Linda would take us in helped, but it didn't make living at home any easier. Dad started watching me constantly. He noticed everything now. One night while I was doing homework at the dining table, he looked up from the TV. You're always on your phone now. What are you doing? I kept my voice casual. Just texting friends. Homework group chat. Let me see. My heart stopped. I had messages with Miss Okonkwo in my regular texts. Photos in my camera roll, contact info for Jessica the lawyer. Dad, that's my privacy. He held out his hand. Phone. Now. I'd prepared for this moment. 2 weeks ago, I'd moved everything sensitive into a hidden folder with a password. Then I'd set up fake normal conversations with school friends to fill my regular messages. I handed him the phone. My hands were shaking. He scrolled through my texts. Homework questions, plans to meet at the library, complaints about teachers. All the stuff I'd carefully curated to look normal. He checked my photos. Selfies, pictures of notes from class, a few shots of Emma and me making stupid faces. He threw the phone back at me. It hit the edge of the table. Whatever, just don't stay up too late. I went to my room and locked the door. My whole body was trembling. That was too close. The next week, Mom cornered me in the kitchen. Why are you taking so many photos lately? I saw you taking pictures of your arm the other day. I'd practiced this answer. Oh, I'm doing a photography project for art class. Self-portraits and body details. She looked skeptical. You're not in art class. It's for next semester. I'm building a portfolio. She didn't look convinced, but she let it drop. Okay, just asking. The third close call came when Grandma visited on Sunday. She was Dad's mother. She'd always been on his side about everything. When she walked into the kitchen and caught me taking a photo of a bruise on my shin, she frowned. What are you documenting? You kids and your phones. I forced a laugh. Just taking pictures for memories, Grandma. She narrowed her eyes. Your father mentioned you've been difficult lately. Talking to school people about family business. It was just about college planning. Your generation is soft, she said. When I was young, we respected our parents. Your father is doing his best. He's under a lot of stress with no job. You should be more understanding. I didn't answer, just nodded and put my phone away. But I realized something important. Grandma would stand by Dad no matter what. Even if she saw the bruises herself, she'd find a way to excuse them. Some people would never believe us, and I needed to accept that. What I didn't know was that the school administration was about to make everything harder. Week 5, I got called to the vice principal's office during third period. Mr. Dawson was in his late 50s, the kind of administrator who cared more about the school's reputation than what actually happened to students. He sat behind his desk with his arms crossed. Ms. Okonkwo tells me you've been meeting with her regularly, 9 sessions in 8 weeks. Yes, she's helping me with some personal issues. She also mentioned concerns about your home environment. He leaned forward. Is there something we should know? I chose my words carefully. It's complicated. I'm working through it. Because if there's abuse happening, the school has protocols. We need to file official reports. I'm not ready for that yet. I'm gathering. He cut me off. Young lady, we can't have counselors meeting with students about serious allegations without proper documentation. It's a liability. He picked up his phone and called Miss Okonkwo's extension. Can you come to my office, please? She arrived 2 minutes later. I could see the tension in her shoulders. Why wasn't I informed about potential abuse allegations earlier? Dawson asked. Ms. Okonkwo kept her voice steady. Rachel asked me not to file a report until she had enough evidence. I was respecting her agency while keeping her safe. That's not how this works. Dawson's tone was sharp. Either we have clear evidence to report, or we don't involve ourselves. We're not lawyers or investigators. Sir, this is exactly why victims don't come forward, Ms. Okonkwo said. You're asking her to have perfect evidence before we offer support. I'm asking us to follow proper procedures. He turned to me. If you have evidence of abuse, we report it to CPS now. If not, this needs to be handled through official channels. I felt trapped. Report now without enough evidence and risk making everything worse. Or lose my only support at school. Dawson looked at Miss Okonkwo. You're not to meet with Rachel about this issue unless there's concrete evidence to file a formal report. That's an order. That's final. I'm putting a note in your personnel file about this. Miss Dawes. Okonkwo's jaw tightened, but she nodded. After the meeting, she pulled me aside in the hallway. Students were passing between classes, the noise giving us cover. I'm so sorry, she said quietly. He's wrong, but my hands are tied officially. She pulled out a post-it note and wrote down a number. This is my personal cell. Text me anytime. I can't meet you at school anymore without his approval, but I'm not abandoning you. I took the note and shoved it in my pocket. I walked to my next class in a daze. Everything was falling apart. Dad was getting more suspicious. The school was making it impossible to get help. And I still didn't have enough evidence. I needed something undeniable, something with witnesses who weren't family. That night, I got a Facebook notification. Aunt Linda had posted about her upcoming birthday party. 2 weeks away, family and friends invited, a public event, with people outside our immediate family. If something happened there, with witnesses, I started planning. Planning the party gave me focus, but it didn't make the next 2 weeks any easier. Dad went into full lockdown mode. He announced new rules at dinner one night. Both of you come straight home after school. No exceptions. I put down my fork. But I have my cafe shift on Saturday. Not anymore. You're quitting. Dad, I need that job to save for college. You'll go to community college. Live at home, don't need savings. The next day, he called my manager himself, told her I couldn't work there anymore. Family obligations. I lost my income, lost my independence, lost the only place outside school where I felt normal. Week 6 got worse. Dad required us to text him every 2 hours during school, check-ins, proof we were where we said we'd be. He started checking our phones randomly. I'd already moved everything to the cloud and deleted it from my device, but it was still terrifying. I had to act normal, couldn't research anything, couldn't document openly. Emma's best friend Maya texted asking if Emma could come over after school. Dad saw the message during one of his phone checks. Who's Maya? My friend from art class. That girl's a bad influence. You're not seeing her anymore. Emma's face crumpled. What? Why? Because I said so. But she's my best friend. He slapped her across the face. Not hard, but hard enough. Emma froze. I froze. Even Dad looked surprised for a second, then his expression went cold. Don't question me. I pulled Emma into the bathroom and checked her face. Red mark on her cheek. No bruise yet, but it would probably show tomorrow. Did he ever hit your face before? I whispered. She shook her head. Her eyes were huge, scared. It's getting worse, isn't it? Just 2 more weeks, I said. Hold on for 2 more weeks. The next day, Aunt Linda called Mom. I heard Mom's side of the conversation from my room. No, Linda, everything's fine. The girls are fine. Rachel's just being dramatic about school stress. No, you don't need to come check on them. Michael's handling it. When Mom hung up, I heard Dad's voice, low, angry. Your sister is always stirring up drama. She doesn't come to this house anymore. Michael, she's my sister. I said no. Mom went quiet. That was it. Linda was our backup plan, and now she was banned from the house. I had to find another way to contact her. I messaged Linda through Facebook the next day during lunch, using the school computer in the library. Everything was falling apart faster than I'd planned. My mental health was collapsing. I couldn't sleep more than 3 hours a night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Dad's face, heard his voice, felt his hand around my wrist. I'd wake up at 2 in the morning with my heart racing so fast I thought I was having a heart attack. My grades kept dropping. I missed another assignment deadline in history. Mr. Chen emailed Mom expressing concern about my sudden decline. Mom cornered me in the kitchen after dinner. You used to be such a good student. What happened to you? I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her by the shoulders and shake her until she saw what was right in front of her face. Instead, I said, I'm trying my best. Well, try harder. We can't afford tutoring. She walked away like that solved everything. That night, I went to check on Emma around midnight. She was asleep, but something made me pull back her blanket. fresh cuts on her thighs, at least 6 new ones, angry red lines that hadn't even scabbed over yet. I shook her awake. You promised you'd talk to me before you did this again. Emma started crying immediately. I can't help it. It's the only thing that makes the feeling stop. I sat down on her bed and held her. What feeling? Like I'm going to explode. Like I can't breathe. Like nothing will ever be okay. I know. I feel it too. But we're going to get out. I promise. What if we don't? Her voice was so small. What if this is just our life forever? I didn't have an answer. The next day, I missed 2 check-in texts. My phone died during 5th period, and I didn't realize until school ended. I knew the second I walked through the door that I was in trouble. Dad was standing in the kitchen, arms crossed, face dark. Where were you? I texted you 8 times. My phone died. I'm sorry. You're lying. You were probably with that counselor again. No, I swear. I pulled out my phone. Look, it was dead. He snatched it from my hand and checked the battery, 3%. You let it die on purpose. I didn't. I forgot to charge it last night. Go to your room, both of you. You're not leaving except for school and meals. Emma appeared at the top of the stairs. She'd heard everything. We went upstairs without arguing. What was the point? That night, Emma came into my room after Dad went to bed. I don't think I can make it 2 more weeks. My whole body went cold. What do you mean? I've been thinking about what if I just wasn't here anymore. I grabbed her shoulders. Emma, are you saying... I don't want to die. She was crying again. I just want the pain to stop, and I don't know how else to make it stop. I pulled her onto the bed and held her while we both cried. If you're not here, I won't survive this, I said. You're the only reason I'm still fighting. I made her promise. If she had thoughts like that again, she'd tell me immediately. No matter what time, no matter what was happening, she promised. But I realized something that scared me more than anything else. We'd reached the critical point. Emma wasn't just being hurt anymore. She was breaking. And if I didn't get us out soon, I might lose her in a way I could never fix. I couldn't wait anymore. The party was in 10 days. 10 days felt like 10 years. The next day during lunch, I used the school library computer to send emails. First, to Miss Okonkwo through my school account. Dad didn't have the password for that. Art project going well. Need 2 more weeks for exhibition. She replied within an hour. Take all the time you need. Your piece will be worth the wait. We both understood what exhibition meant. Public event, witnesses. Then I emailed Jessica, the lawyer. Party is in 10 days. If something happens there with witnesses, what do we do? Her response came back fast. Once you have a public incident with outside witnesses, plus all your documented evidence, we can file for emergency protective order immediately. I'll have the papers ready. She explained the process. An emergency order could be issued same day if there was imminent danger plus strong evidence. What counts as imminent danger? I typed. Physical assault witnessed by mandatory reporters, teachers, doctors, family members who will testify. Combined with your documentation of pattern, a judge will act fast. And then what happens? Your father will be ordered to leave the home immediately. No contact with you and Emma except supervised. CPS will investigate. If they confirm abuse, he won't be allowed back. My hands were shaking on the keyboard. What if my mom doesn't support us? Then we file for you and Emma to stay with another family member. That's why having your aunt as backup is crucial. I logged out and switched to Facebook. Sent Linda a message. Linda, I need to ask you something serious. Your birthday party is in 10 days. Can Emma and I definitely come? And can you promise not to tell Mom or Dad if we need to stay with you afterwards? She answered within an hour. Of course you can come. And yes, you can stay as long as you need. Rachel, what's happening? Your mom mentioned your dad has been strict lately, but... It's more than strict. I'll explain everything at the party, but I need to know we have a safe place to go. You have my address. I'm 2 hours away. You girls are always welcome. I'm worried about you. I closed the browser and deleted the history. 10 more days. I didn't know it then, but people were starting to notice. Linda called Mom the next day. I heard Mom's side of the conversation from upstairs. No, everything's fine. The girls are just stressed about school. Pause. Michael's under a lot of pressure, Linda. He's been looking for work for over a year. You know how men get when they feel like they're not providing? Longer pause. That's not an excuse? Linda, stay out of it. We're handling it. Mom hung up. Her voice was sharp when she came upstairs. Your aunt is asking questions. What did you tell her? Nothing. I just said we might visit sometime. Well, don't. Your father doesn't want her interfering. But Linda didn't stop. She called Grandma. Mom's mom, not Dad's. Then she called Uncle Carlos, Mom's brother. I didn't know about this until later, but they started a group chat. Everyone except Mom and Dad. Anyone else concerned about Jennifer's family? Uncle Carlos wrote back first. I haven't seen the girls in months. Michael doesn't like me, apparently. Rachel sent me a weird message asking if they could stay with me suddenly. Linda typed. Something's not right. Grandma. Jennifer won't talk to me about it. Every time I ask, she changes the subject. They agreed. They'd all come to Linda's party, watch closely, be ready to step in if needed. Meanwhile, Miss Okonkwo was fighting her own battle. She filed a formal complaint with the superintendent about Mr. Dawson's handling of the situation. The email was direct, professional, damning. Mr. Dawson's policy of requiring concrete evidence before offering support to potential abuse victims violates both Title IX and state mandatory reporting guidelines. By preventing me from counseling Rachel, he may be placing her in greater danger. The superintendent forwarded it to the school district lawyer for review. The process would take weeks, maybe months. Way too slow to help me, but it created a paper trail. If something happened, the school couldn't claim they didn't know. I didn't know about any of this. I only knew that I had 8 days left until the party. 8 days to survive in a house where the tension was so thick I could barely breathe. 8 days of check-ins every 2 hours, of random phone searches, of Dad watching my every move, 8 days of Emma getting quieter and quieter, of finding new cuts every few days. 8 days of Mom pretending everything was fine. 8 days until we either got out or broke completely. I marked them off in my notebook, 1 line for each day that passed. 7 days, 6 days, 5 days. 3 days before the party, Emma and I packed emergency bags. We did it late at night when Dad was asleep. 3 days of clothes each, toothbrushes, deodorant, phone chargers, Emma's anxiety medication, my allergy pills. We hid the bags at the bottom of our closets under winter coats we wouldn't need until October. I copied everything onto a USB drive, all 47 photos, all 6 audio recordings, the medical records from the school nurse, my written timeline with dates and times and descriptions. I handed it to Emma. If anything happens to me, give this to Aunt Linda or Ms. Okonkwo. Nothing's going to happen to you. Just in case. I also wrote a letter. 3 pages explaining everything. Sealed it in an envelope addressed to Linda, put it in my backpack. The plan was simple. If Dad got violent at the party, we wouldn't hide it. We'd let people see, let mandatory reporters witness it, then present all the evidence to CPS and the police. Emma sat on my bed that night. What if he doesn't do anything at the party? What if he's on good behavior? Then we stick with the original plan. Keep collecting evidence. But Rachel, her voice was small. I don't know how much longer I can do this. I pulled her close. I have a feeling he won't be able to control himself, especially if Aunt Linda or Uncle Carlos say something he doesn't like. He's been wound so tight lately. One wrong word and he'll snap. You think? I know. 2 days before the party, everything almost fell apart. Dad announced it at dinner. We're not going to Linda's birthday. I'm tired of your mom's family. Mom put down her fork. Michael, I already RSVP'd. Linda's expecting us. Call her and cancel. No. The word hung in the air. Mom never said no to Dad. Never. Excuse me? She's my sister. It's her 40th birthday. We're going. Dad's face darkened. I said we're not going. And I said we are. They stared at each other. Emma and I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Finally, Dad spoke. His voice was cold, controlled. Fine. But we're leaving after 1 hour, and everyone better be on their best behavior. He looked directly at me when he said it. Mom nodded. 1 hour is fine. After dinner, Emma came to my room. Do you think he'll really go? He has to now. Mom pushed back in front of us. If he cancels, he looks weak. What if he loses it before we even get there? Then we call 911. But I think he'll hold it together until we're at the party. He won't want to look bad in front of Mom's family. Emma sat on the edge of my bed. This is really it, isn't it? Yeah, this is our last chance. We sat in silence for a long time. I'm scared, Emma whispered. Me too. What if it doesn't work? What if no one believes us even with witnesses? Then at least we tried. At least we didn't just give up. She nodded, wiped her eyes. Rachel, thank you for not leaving me here alone. I would never leave you. One more day. Saturday afternoon arrived too fast and too slow at the same time. We loaded into the car at 2:30. The drive to Aunt Linda's was 45 minutes. Nobody spoke. Dad had a flask between his legs. He took a sip every few minutes. Mom stared out the passenger window and said nothing. I sat behind Mom. Emma sat behind Dad. We held hands in the space between the seats where they couldn't see. Dad took another drink. Mom's jaw tightened, but she didn't comment. We pulled up to Linda's house at 3:15. She lived in a nice suburban neighborhood. Neat lawns, 2-story houses, basketball hoops and driveways. Her backyard was full of people, maybe 15 or 20, relatives I hadn't seen in months, Linda's friends, some neighbors. Kids running around, music playing, a grill smoking in the corner. Linda came running over when she saw us. She hugged Emma first, then me, held on longer than normal. She whispered in my ear. You okay? Ask me later. Mom and Dad stood by the fence, stiff, uncomfortable. Dad clearly wanted to be anywhere else. Uncle Carlos arrived 10 minutes after us. He had his wife and 2 kids with him. He walked straight over to Dad with his hand out. Hey man, long time. How's the job search going? Dad shook his hand, but his whole body was tense. Fine. Any promising leads? A few. That's great. Economy's been rough. Yeah. The conversation died. Carlos glanced at his wife. She gave him a look that said she noticed something was wrong too. Emma and I stayed together near the food table. We didn't separate, not even for a minute. Maybe nothing will happen, Emma whispered. Maybe we worried for nothing. I watched Dad across the yard. His jaw was clenched so tight I could see it from here. He was on his 4th beer since we arrived. His eyes kept darting around like he was looking for an escape route. Look at his jaw, I said quietly. He's grinding his teeth, and he's drinking. Something's going to happen. Emma's hand found mine again. I'm scared. Me too. An hour passed. Linda cut the cake. Everyone sang happy birthday. Dad stood in the back with his arms crossed. Didn't sing, didn't smile. I helped Linda serve cake and drinks, carried a tray with cups of fruit punch. My hands were shaking, but I kept them steady. This was it. Everything we'd planned for. Everything we'd survived for. I just needed to get through the next hour without anything going wrong. That hour didn't last. Dad had downed 4 beers by the time Linda started cutting the cake. He kept checking his phone every 2 minutes, kept looking at the gate like he wanted to bolt. His jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscles working. I knew that look. I'd seen it 100 times before, right before he snapped. Linda gathered everyone around the picnic table. People held plates. Kids bounced around waiting for cake. Someone turned down the music. I was helping serve drinks. Linda had asked me to carry around a tray with cups of fruit punch. My hands were shaking, but I tried to keep them steady. Just get through this. Just 1 more hour. Dad was standing near the food table with another beer in his hand. His 5th since we'd arrived. Maybe his 6th. I turned to set the tray down on the edge of the table. My hip bumped the corner. The tray tilted. Fruit punch sloshed over the rim of 3 cups. The red liquid spilled across the white tablecloth. One splash landed right on Dad's white polo shirt. Everything slowed down. I saw the red stain spreading across his chest. Saw his face change. Saw that look I'd been dreading. "Oh my God, Dad, I'm so sorry." He looked down at his shirt. The stain was bright red against the white fabric, like blood. I grabbed napkins off the table. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped half of them. "I'll clean it up." "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." His hand shot out faster than I expected. He grabbed my left wrist, not gentle, not a touch, a grab. And then he squeezed. Hard. Pain exploded up my arm like electricity. "Dad, you're hurting me." He squeezed harder. The same wrist he'd injured 2 weeks ago, the same spot that still had yellow-green bruises. His fingers dug into the exact places that were already damaged. I felt something in my wrist shift, something that shouldn't move, something wrong. He leaned in close. His breath smelled like beer and anger. His voice was low, but I could hear the rage underneath. "You did that on purpose." "No, I didn't. Please." The pain was blinding, white hot. I couldn't think, couldn't breathe. Just pain shooting up my arm into my shoulder. "Please let go." My voice came out louder than I meant it to, almost a shout. I didn't mean to yell, but the pain ripped it out of me. The conversations around us stopped. I could feel people starting to turn, starting to notice. Dad kept squeezing. His face was inches from mine. His eyes were cold, empty. "You're an embarrassment. Can't even carry a tray without," I screamed. I didn't plan it, didn't think about it. The pain was so sharp and sudden that it tore out of my throat before I could stop it. "You're breaking my wrist." And I meant it. I could feel something grinding wrong in there, bone against bone, something fractured or cracked or broken. He didn't let go right away, just stared at me with those cold, flat eyes, the ones that said he didn't care, the ones that said I deserved this. Complete silence now. Every single person in the backyard was looking at us. The music had stopped, the kids had gone quiet, everyone frozen. Staring, I could see their faces. Shock, confusion, horror. This was it. This was what I'd been waiting for. Witnesses, people who couldn't pretend they didn't see. Uncle Carlos took 3 quick steps forward. His voice was sharp. "Michael, let her go." Dad blinked, like he'd forgotten where he was, like he'd just woken up. He released my wrist. I stumbled backward, almost fell, caught myself on the edge of the table, cradled my wrist against my chest. I could already see it swelling, turning red. The pain was making my vision blur at the edges, making everything fuzzy except the throbbing in my wrist. It hurt worse than the first time, worse than any time before, because this time he'd grabbed the same spot, the same injury, made it worse. Emma ran over from where she'd been standing with the other kids. Her face was white, terrified. "Oh my God." Linda was there in a second. She pushed past Dad like he didn't exist. "Let me see that." She took my arm gently. So gently it still hurt. My wrist was clearly injured, swelling fast, already twice the size it should be. I winced when she touched it, even though she was barely applying pressure. Linda looked up at Dad. Her voice was shaking, but not with fear, with pure anger. "What is wrong with you?" Dad's voice cut through the silence. "She spilled punch all over me. It was an accident." Linda didn't let him finish. "So you nearly break her wrist? That's how you handle an accident?" "I didn't. She's being dramatic." Uncle Carlos stepped closer. His voice was hard. "We all saw it, man." That was not okay. I was crying. Partly from the pain shooting up my arm, partly from relief. They saw it. Everyone saw it. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't exaggerating. Emma ran over and grabbed Linda's arm. The words tumbled out of her like she'd been holding them in for months. "He does this all the time. At home, when Mom's at work. He hurts us." Mom's voice was sharp, panicked. "Emma, stop it!" Emma kept going. Her voice got louder. "He broke my door. He hits us. He grabbed Rachel's wrist before, and her ear, and he threw things." I found my voice. It shook, but I got the words out. "I have evidence. Photos, recordings, medical records." Dad started toward us. His face was dark, dangerous. "You little—" Uncle Carlos blocked him, put his body between Dad and us. "Don't even think about it." They stood there. Dad and Carlos. Dad was shorter, thinner. Carlos had his arms crossed, protective. Linda turned to Mom. Her voice was shaking with fury. "Did you know about this? Have you been letting him hurt your daughters?" Mom's face went white. "It's not. You don't understand. They exaggerate. Look at Rachel's wrist, Jennifer." Linda held up my arm. It was swelling fast, already twice its normal size. "That's not exaggeration." The other party guests were backing away, murmuring. Some were already heading toward the gate. Linda's friend Sarah stepped forward, the one who was a nurse. "Linda, that wrist needs to be looked at. Could be fractured." Linda made a decision. I saw it happen in her eyes. "I'm taking Rachel to urgent care. Now." "No, you're not." Dad's voice was cold. "She's my daughter. Try to stop me, and I'll call the police right now." Linda pulled her phone out of her pocket. Held it up. Nobody moved. Uncle Carlos broke the silence. "Let Linda take her. Unless you want everyone here to call 911. Some of the guests were already pulling out their phones. I could see them. I looked at Emma. She was standing a few feet away, frozen. "Come with us." Mom stepped toward Emma. "Emma, stay here." Emma ran to me, grabbed my good hand. "No, I'm going with my sister." Linda looked at Mom. Her voice was steady now. Clear. "They're both coming with me. Jennifer, you need to decide right now whose side you're on." Mom stood there, torn, her face twisted with confusion, with denial, with something that might have been understanding starting to break through. Dad's voice was a growl. "If you take them, don't bother bringing them back." "Gladly." Linda put her hand on my back, guided me toward the side gate. Emma held my good hand. We walked past all the guests, past the decorations, past the cake, past Uncle Carlos who nodded at us. Behind us, I heard Carlos addressing the crowd. "Sorry, everyone, we need to handle a family situation." People were already leaving. Most looked uncomfortable, embarrassed, like they'd witnessed something they wished they hadn't. But a few came up to Carlos. I heard bits of their conversations as we reached the gate. "Is everything okay? Do those girls need help?" Should we call someone? I've never seen anything like that. Carlos's voice was calm, professional. It's being handled. Thank you. Linda opened the gate. Her car was parked on the street. Emma and I climbed into the back seat. Linda got in the driver's seat, started the engine, looked at us in the rearview mirror. You're safe now, she said. I nodded, couldn't speak. My wrist was throbbing, my whole body was shaking. Emma leaned against me, careful not to bump my arm. As we pulled away from the curb, I looked back at the house. I could see Dad standing in the backyard, arms crossed, staring after us. Mom was next to him, her hand over her mouth. Uncle Carlos was talking to the last few guests, trying to explain, trying to manage the situation. Then we turned the corner and they were gone. Linda drove fast. Not reckless, just purposeful. There's an urgent care 10 minutes from here. We're going there first, then we're calling the police, and CPS, and anyone else who needs to know. Thank you, I whispered. You don't have to thank me. Her voice cracked. I should have known. I should have seen it. We hid it, Emma said quietly. We got good at hiding it. Well, you're not hiding anymore. Linda met my eyes in the mirror. Whatever happens next, you're not going back there. Either of you, not until it's safe. I believed her. For the first time in 6 months, I actually believed someone. The urgent care waiting room was packed. Linda parked and we went straight to the check-in desk. Wrist injury, possible fracture. The receptionist handed us a clipboard, insurance forms, medical history. Linda filled everything out while I held my wrist against my chest. The swelling was getting worse. My whole hand was starting to tingle, going numb. We sat down. Emma on one side of me, Linda on the other. Tell me everything, Linda said quietly. Right now. So we did. I told her about the past 6 months, about Dad losing his job, about the grabbing that turned into squeezing, that turned into throwing things, about the nights Mom worked and we were alone with him. Emma told her about the door, about being scared to come home from school, about the cuts on her arms. I showed Linda my phone, the photos, the timeline, the recordings. Linda cried while we talked, tears running down her face. She didn't wipe them away. Why didn't you tell me sooner? We were scared, I said. We didn't know who would believe us. I would have believed you. God, Rachel, I would have come and gotten you that same day. We know that now. They called my name after 45 minutes. A young doctor came in. Dr. Patel. He looked maybe 30, tired eyes, kind face. How did this happen? I didn't lie, didn't minimize. My father grabbed my wrist, hard. He's hurt me before. Dr. Patel's expression changed, got serious, professional. I need to ask you some questions, and I'm required by law to report suspected abuse. I know, I want you to report it. I have evidence. He blinked, like he hadn't expected that. Most patients don't say that. Most patients don't have 6 weeks of documentation ready. He ordered x-rays. We waited another 20 minutes. The results came back. Hairline fracture in my wrist bone, right where Dad had squeezed. This will heal, Dr. Patel said. But you'll need a splint for 4 to 6 weeks. And yes, this type of fracture is consistent with forceful gripping. He filed the mandatory report right there, typed it into his computer while we watched. An hour later, a woman arrived. 40s, professional clothes, tired but alert. Rachel, I'm Ms. Torres from Child Protective Services. I understand your father injured you today. Yes, and I have proof it's not the first time. I pulled out my phone, showed her everything. 47 photos of bruises spanning 6 weeks, different angles, different stages of healing, all with timestamps. 6 audio recordings. The longest one was 12 minutes. Dad's voice clear as day. Threats, yelling, Emma crying, my written timeline. Dates, times, descriptions, medical records from the school nurse. 3 visits in 2 months. Miss. Torres's eyes got wider with each piece of evidence. This is incredibly thorough. My school counselor helped me. I knew I'd need proof. You absolutely have proof. This is one of the most documented cases I've seen from a minor. She called over a police officer who was stationed at the ER. He took my statement, copied all my evidence onto his laptop. Emma gave her own statement separately, confirmed everything I'd said, added details I'd forgotten. What happens now? I asked. Ms. Torres looked at me. Her expression was kind but firm. Your father will not be allowed to return home until the investigation is complete. We'll get an emergency protective order tonight. You and Emma will be safe. He can't come back? Not until a judge says he can. And based on what you've shown me, that won't be anytime soon. I started crying, relief, fear, exhaustion, everything hitting me at once. Emma grabbed my good hand, squeezed. Linda put her arm around both of us. You're safe now, she said again. This time I believed her. We left the ER at 11 p.m. My wrist was in a splint, heavy and awkward. They'd given me prescription painkillers and instructions to follow up with an orthopedist in a week. Linda drove us to her house. Emma and I sat in the back seat, silent, exhausted, like we'd run a marathon. Linda pulled into her driveway, led us inside, showed us to the guest bedroom. You can stay as long as you need, she said. This is your home now. Emma's voice was small. What about Mom? I don't know, honey. That's up to her. My phone had been buzzing in my pocket the whole drive. I pulled it out. 14 missed calls from Dad, all in the past 2 hours. I opened the voicemails, listened to 10 seconds of the first one. His voice was slurred, angry, calling me a liar, saying I destroyed the family. I deleted them without listening to the rest, blocked his number. Emma sat on the edge of the guest bed. Is it really over, or will he come after us? He can't. There's a protective order. If he comes near us, he goes to jail. I can't believe we actually did it. We had to. Linda brought us water, offered food. We weren't hungry. She hugged us both. Try to sleep. We'll figure everything out tomorrow, but I couldn't sleep. Neither could Emma. We lay in the dark. The adrenaline was wearing off. Reality was setting in. What would happen Monday at school? Would everyone know? Would they judge us? Would they think we were the problem? What about Mom? She hadn't called, hadn't texted. What if she never forgave us? What if this was the wrong choice? What if we just made everything worse? Emma crawled into bed with me, like when we were little, when she had nightmares. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too, but we're safe now. That's what matters. She fell asleep around 1 a.m. I could hear her breathing, steady, calm. My phone lit up at 2 a.m. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Rachel? This is Officer Chen. I wanted to let you know, CPS and police went to your house an hour ago. Your father has been served with the emergency protective order. He's packing and leaving the residence tonight. My heart stopped. He's leaving? Right now? Yes. He's not allowed to return. Your mother is still there. She's asked to speak with you. Do you want to talk to her? I looked at Emma sleeping next to me, at the splint on my wrist, at the clock showing 2:17 a.m. Did I want to talk to Mom? The woman who'd chosen Dad over us for 6 months, who'd told me not to provoke him, who'd looked the other way every single time. Rachel? Officer Chen's voice was gentle. You don't have to decide right now. I took a breath. Can I call her tomorrow? Of course. Whenever you're ready. I hung up, put the phone down, stared at the ceiling. Dad was leaving the house. Right now, in the middle of the night. It was really happening. Sunday morning, Ms. Torres showed up at Linda's house at 9 a.m. Emma and I were still in our pajamas, still exhausted, but she needed to do follow-up interviews. She sat us down in Linda's living room, interviewed us separately first, then together. I handed her the USB drive. Everything's on here. Photos, audio files, timeline, medical records. She plugged it into her laptop, spent 20 minutes going through it. Her expression got darker with each file. I've completed my preliminary assessment, she said finally. This is substantiated abuse, both physical and emotional. I'm recommending your father have no unsupervised contact with either of you. Emma grabbed my hand. What happens now? I asked. The emergency protective order is valid for 14 days. There's a court hearing scheduled for Tuesday to make it permanent. The CPS investigation will continue for 2 to 4 weeks. Your father will need to complete an evaluation and potentially attend classes if he wants any custody back. What about Mom? Your mother isn't accused of physical abuse, but there are questions about failure to protect. That's part of our investigation too. Tuesday came fast. Linda drove us to the courthouse. Jessica met us outside. She was wearing a suit, professional, ready. We walked into the courtroom. Dad was already there with his public defender, a young guy who looked fresh out of law school. Dad wouldn't look at us. The judge was an older woman, gray hair, sharp eyes. She reviewed the evidence for 10 minutes before speaking. Mr. Thompson, I've reviewed the evidence submitted by your daughters. This is one of the most thoroughly documented cases of domestic violence I've seen. She played a 30-second clip from one of my recordings. Dad's voice filled the courtroom. I'll break your fingers if you talk back again. Emma was crying. Emma flinched. The judge looked at Dad. Do you have anything to say? His lawyer stood up. Your Honor, my client has been under severe stress due to unemployment. He grew up in a household where physical discipline... The judge cut him off. I don't care how he was raised. He terrorized his children. She read her ruling. Protective order extended 6 months. Dad had to stay away from us. No contact except supervised visits that he had to petition for. 52 weeks of anger management. CPS monitoring to continue. Dad looked at me. His eyes were filled with hate. Pure hatred. I stared right back. Outside the courthouse, Jessica hugged both of us. You did it. Most kids don't have the courage or resources to do what you did. I just wanted Emma to be safe. You saved her. You saved yourself. Linda drove us back to her house. Emma fell asleep in the car. I looked out the window, watched the buildings pass. We'd actually done it. We were actually free. A week later, the district attorney filed criminal charges. 2 counts. Assault, Class A misdemeanor, endangering the welfare of a child. I met with the prosecutor in her office. Ms. Kim was maybe 30, sharp suit, no-nonsense expression. I want you to understand something, she said. This probably won't go to trial. Most cases like this end in plea deals. My stomach dropped. Will he go to jail? Unlikely. First-time domestic violence misdemeanor, no weapons, no hospitalizations. Judge will probably give probation. So he doesn't get punished? Ms. Kim leaned forward. He gets probation, mandatory counseling, a criminal record, and he can't live with you. That's significant. It's not revenge, but it's protection. 2 weeks later, Dad's lawyer negotiated the plea deal, pleaded guilty to reduced charge of assault, 18 months probation, 52 weeks anger management, $500 fine plus court costs, no jail time. We went to the plea hearing. Dad stood in front of the judge and read from a prepared statement. I grabbed my daughter's wrist and caused her injury. I also engaged in a pattern of physical discipline that was inappropriate. His voice was flat, monotone, like he was reading a grocery list. He didn't apologize, didn't look at me or Emma, just read the words his lawyer told him to say. The judge accepted the plea. Mr. Thompson, if you violate probation, you'll serve 90 days in jail. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. That was it. 3 minutes and it was over. Outside the courtroom, I felt hollow. He doesn't think he did anything wrong, I said to Jessica. No, he doesn't. He's just going through the motions to avoid jail. Jessica put her hand on my shoulder. You're right. But here's what matters. He can't hurt you anymore. The system isn't perfect, but it's keeping you safe. I wanted more. I wanted him to admit what he'd done, to say he was sorry, to understand. But I wasn't going to get that. Some people never change. Mom's response was complicated. The first week, she called me. Her voice was angry, defensive. You destroyed our family. Do you know what you've done? Your father lost his part-time job because of this. How am I supposed to pay bills? Mom, he was hurting us. How can you not see that? He was disciplining you. I grew up with much worse. That doesn't make it okay. Just because you were abused doesn't mean we should be. She hung up. 2 weeks later, she called again. Her voice was different, quieter. I'm not ready to apologize yet, but I'm starting to understand. And I filed for legal separation. You're leaving, Dad? I need space to think. And honestly, I'm scared of him too. I just never admitted it. CPS had mandated therapy for Mom as part of the family reunification assessment. Her therapist was helping her confront her own childhood trauma, her enabling behavior. Mom moved to a smaller apartment, 2 bedrooms, asked if we wanted to live with her or stay with Linda. Emma and I talked about it. Can we do both? Some days with Mom, some with Linda, until we see if it's safe. We worked out an arrangement. Weekdays with Linda for school continuity. Weekends with Mom if we wanted. The extended family split down the middle. Grandma, Dad's mom, called me 3 weeks after the court hearing. You're a liar. You destroyed your father. I want nothing to do with you. Grandma, I have recordings. I don't care. You're dead to me. She hung up. Dad's side of the family fractured. Some believed him. Some believed us. Uncle Mike, Dad's brother, called me separately. I believe you, Rachel. My dad used to beat us too. I'm sorry I didn't see it happening to you. My cousins on Dad's side had mixed reactions. Some were supportive. Some avoided us at family events. Wouldn't make eye contact. Mom's side was uniformly supportive. Linda, Carlos, Grandma. They all validated us. School was weird. News spread fast in a small community. People talked. Some students were supportive. Others whispered. I overheard a conversation in the hallway. She got her dad arrested. That's so messed up. Another voice. No, he was abusing her. Did you see her wrist? Mr. Dawson called me into his office during lunch. I want to apologize. Ms. Okonkwo was right and I was wrong. We're updating our protocols. Okay. Is there anything the school can do to support you? I looked at him. This man who'd made everything harder. Who'd tied Miss Okonkwo's hands when I needed her most. You could have supported me 2 months ago when I needed it. I walked out. Ms. Okonkwo became my official counselor. We met every week. She helped me process everything. The trauma, the guilt, the complex feelings about Mom. Dad lost his part-time job at the hardware store. Background check revealed the protective order. He moved to a cheap studio apartment across town, attended anger management classes because probation required it. His probation officer's report was blunt. Client shows minimal insight into his behavior. Blames daughters for his situation. Dad never petitioned for supervised visits, never tried to contact us. Uncle Mike told me, your dad tells anyone who'll listen that you two made everything up. He's playing the victim. I wasn't surprised. Some people never take responsibility. They just rewrite the story until they're the hero. But what mattered was what happened next. The slow, messy work of putting ourselves back together. The first 3 months were the hardest. Linda drove us to therapy twice a week. A clinic that specialized in trauma. Victim services covered the cost. Dr. Shannon was in her 40s. Calm voice, patient eyes. She met with me separately, then Emma, then both of us together. You both developed PTSD from chronic abuse, she said during our 3rd session. Your brains learned to be in constant survival mode. Healing takes time. My symptoms showed up in nightmares. I'd wake up at 3 a.m., sure I heard Dad's footsteps in the hallway. My heart would race for 20 minutes before I remembered where I was. I jumped at loud noises, flinched when people moved too fast near me, had trouble trusting anyone. Emma had panic attacks, random triggers, the sound of a door slamming, someone raising their voice. She still had the urge to cut when things got overwhelming, but she hadn't done it since we left, not once. Dr. Shannon connected us with a teen support group for abuse survivors. Every Thursday night at the community center, I didn't want to go at first. Felt exposed, like everyone would judge me. But the first night, a girl my age talked about her stepdad, how he'd throw things, how her mom didn't believe her until she got a restraining order. Another kid talked about his dad's anger, the walking on eggshells, the constant fear. I wasn't alone. This happened to other people, normal people, good people. School got better slowly. My GPA first semester senior year was 3.4, up from 2.9, not back to 3.8, but improving. Ms. Okonkwo helped me apply to state universities. We worked on my essay together. I wrote about overcoming adversity, didn't give all the details, just enough. I got accepted to state university with a partial academic scholarship, $4,000 a year, not the full ride I dreamed about sophomore year. But something, enough to make it work. I decided to major in social work. I want to help kids like me, I told Ms. Okonkwo. She smiled. You're going to be amazing at it. Emma's grades stabilized. She joined an art therapy program after school, created a series of paintings about freedom, bold colors, open spaces, birds in flight. She exhibited them in the school art show. 50 people came. Local news did a small piece. She also wrote an anonymous essay for the school newspaper. Why Students Don't Report Abuse, A Survivor's Perspective. And it included resources, hotline numbers, how to help if your friend is in trouble. The article got shared 5,000 times on Facebook in our county, not millions, but enough to matter locally. The county health department contacted Emma, asked if she'd speak at a teen mental health forum. She was terrified, but she agreed. 5 minutes, short speech about finding your voice, 30 people in the audience, not viral, but impactful to the people who heard it. Money was tight. Mom's apartment was smaller, less comfortable than our old house. She was still working 2 jobs. Dad wasn't paying child support. The court ordered it, but he claimed he couldn't afford it with his reduced income. I got a part-time job at the library, different from the cafe, quieter, less triggering. I saved every dollar for college. Emma babysat for neighbors, made decent money. Linda helped with what she could. You girls aren't a burden. You're family. Mom slowly learned to accept help. I was always too proud. That was part of the problem. My relationship with Mom was complicated. The first few months were tense. Careful. We didn't talk about Dad, didn't talk about what happened, just surface stuff. But Mom kept going to therapy, started acknowledging her role. 4 months after everything happened, we were at her apartment for the weekend. Emma was in her room, Mom and I were doing dishes. I should have protected you, Mom said suddenly. I knew something was wrong, and I looked away because it was easier than confronting him. I put down the dish I was drying. Why did you do that? She was crying. Because I was scared too, and I was taught that keeping the family together was more important than anything. I was wrong. It wasn't a full reconciliation, but it was a beginning. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? She asked. I don't know, Mom. Maybe someday. Right now I'm just trying to survive. That's fair. We kept rebuilding, slowly. One conversation at a time. Trust takes time. 9 months later, I stood in a cap and gown waiting for my name to be called. The gymnasium was packed. Emma sat in the third row with Linda, Mom, and Uncle Carlos. Ms. Okonkwo was there too. She'd come on her own time. Dad wasn't there. We hadn't invited him. The protective order was still active. Rachel Thompson. I walked across the stage, shook the principal's hand, took my diploma, not valedictorian. That ship had sailed junior year when my GPA tanked, but I was graduating with honors. 3.4 final GPA, small victory. But considering everything, it felt huge. After the ceremony, we took photos outside. Mom hugged me first. I'm so proud of you. Thanks, Mom. There was still distance between us. But there was warmth too. Linda grabbed me next, squeezed tight. What you did took incredible courage. You saved your sister's life. You saved your own life. I just did what I had to do. Emma was crying. Happy tears. You did more than that. You taught me that fighting back doesn't make you bad. It makes you strong. That summer, I volunteered at the Teen Crisis Hotline. The training was intense. How to talk to suicidal callers, how to recognize signs of abuse, how to help kids in crisis without making things worse. My first real call came 3 weeks in. Teen Crisis Hotline, this is Rachel. I don't know what to do. The girl's voice was shaking. My dad hit me again. And I'm scared if I tell anyone, they'll take me away from my little brother. My heart stopped. I knew that fear. Lived it for months. I understand. I've been there. Here's what you need to know. I walked her through evidence collection, resources, safety planning, gave her the number for CPS, explained protective orders. After the call ended, I sat there for a minute. I'd turned my trauma into purpose. Uncle Mike called me one day in July. Your dad asked about you girls. What did you say? Told him you're doing great. He said, good for them, like he had nothing to do with any of it. I talked about it in therapy. I wanted him to have this huge realization, to apologize, to change. Dr. Shannon looked at me with those patient eyes. Some people never change. You can't control that. You can only control your own healing. She was right. Dad completed his anger management classes because probation required it. Got a job at a warehouse that didn't run background checks, still blamed us for everything, but he couldn't hurt us anymore. And maybe that was enough. The school district updated their policies after Jessica filed a formal complaint. Students reporting abuse got immediate support now. No more bureaucratic delays. Mr. Dawson got formally reprimanded. Had to complete training on mandatory reporting. Ms. Okonkwo got promoted to lead counselor. Small changes. But changes. The night before I left for college, Emma and I sat in the guest room at Linda's, still our primary home. We were packing my stuff for the dorm, clothes, books. The splint I'd kept as a reminder. I'm going to miss you, Emma said. I'm only 2 hours away. I'll visit. Everything's going to be different. Yeah, but different doesn't mean bad. She was quiet for a minute. Are you scared? Terrified, but also excited. For the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe. Do you think about him? Sometimes. Less now. Mostly I think about us, about surviving. Do you think we'll ever be normal? I don't know what normal is, but I think we'll be okay. We're already okay. Emma hugged me. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for giving me a reason to fight. People ask me if I regret it. Reporting him. Breaking up the family. I don't regret it. Yes, my GPA suffered. Yes, I lost relatives who chose his side. Yes, I lost the fantasy of a normal family. But I gained something more important. Safety agency. My voice. I learned that protecting yourself isn't betrayal, it's survival. I learned that families aren't supposed to hurt you, and if they do, you're allowed to leave. I learned that perfect evidence doesn't exist, but collected evidence is powerful. I learned that the system is flawed, but not broken beyond use. I learned that healing isn't linear. Some days I'm fine. Some days I still flinch at loud noises. I didn't get a Hollywood ending. Dad didn't go to jail. He didn't change. He doesn't even think he did anything wrong, but he can't hurt us anymore. And maybe that's enough. I didn't destroy my family. I saved what was left worth saving. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is tell the truth, even when it breaks everything apart before it can heal.